good underdog story. My guest today is going to be your favorite new human, just like she's mine. My name is Elyssa Smith. This is the Unlock Your Blocks podcast. And today, Lisa Johnson is my guest. She is a global business strategist and Sunday Times bestselling author who makes 90% of her money through passive or semi-passive income streams. So this is the dream, right? But she didn't start there. And we're going to hear a little bit about that today. And she is a phenomenal person to believe in you before you believe in yourself. And I know that from personal experience with her. She passionately believes that every business owner's journey is unique and that the one size fits all approach that dominates the online coaching and mentoring world is fundamentally flawed, inspiring her to take a stand at the forefront of ethical and integrity driven business strategy advice. She's been featured on numerous TV shows. She's appeared in national newspapers and magazines, including The Telegraph, Lisa. Oh, sorry. It looks like my copy of your bio got messed up right there. But essentially, you need to know that Lisa took herself from $38,000 in debt to becoming a successful entrepreneur, making millions and helping thousands of people in just 5 years. And when I say Lisa helps people, I am not joking. Lisa is one of the very first people that helped me take my business online, and watching her and sticking close to her and being in her audience and being in her programs is one of the things that has kept me going when the going got really tough. Lisa, thank you so much for making time to be on the podcast today, and I cannot wait for this conversation.
Thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
So let's just dig into this. $38,000 in debt to making millions. Can you give us the elevator version of what? How did that happen?
Well, by accident mainly. So at the beginning, I was working just in a normal 9-to-5 job, and then I got pregnant with twins, and that meant that my salary was only covering childcare because I was a single mum for a short period of time, and so I had to think of how I was going to, start trying to make money. I think so many things come out of desperation. And so for me, it was like, well, maybe I can do a 9-to-5 and have a business on the side and try and make some more money that way. And so I actually had a wedding planning business first, but it didn't work out very well at first because I didn't know anything about business. And so then a year in, I realized that if I was going to be serious about making money, I had to go and learn about business, but I didn't have any money to be able to get coaching or anything like that. And so I just, I went to the library and I bought every self-development book going, and I went to every free webinar and I taught myself. And then I turned that wedding business around to making like a really decent amount of money, enough that I could start paying off that debt. And then after a couple of years, people were asking me how I'd done that. And all the books I'd read, I remembered everything, but I started to turn everything I'd sort of learned into non-complicated, non-jargon ways of teaching business. And I was doing it for free just to help out people in the industry, people in other industries. And people started coming back to me saying, oh, this is working. Like, I've tripled my revenue. And so I was like, surely this is a better way of making money, like an easier way than being on my feet for 48 hours doing weddings every weekend and still not seeing the kids. And so 8.5 years ago, I set up what was Lisa Johnson Strategy and started helping people start businesses. In the first year, I realized that wasn't sustainable. People were handing me their money and saying, I want to work with you. And I was like, I've been working from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night with one-to-one clients. I don't have any more time. And I put my price up 3 times, and still that didn't stop people wanting to come and work with me. And I was like, something has to give here. I've hit an income ceiling already in my first year of business. And I was doing well. I made 220,000 UK pounds in that time, but I was working 80 hours and a week. And I was like, this isn't what I needed. And so then I started thinking about learning about passive income streams and tried many of them, lots which just didn't feel right to me, cryptocurrency and all sorts of things, and drop shipping. And then I started adding in things like going from that one-to-one to a one-to-many model, memberships, courses, recurring revenue streams, affiliate marketing, adding them into my business. And by the end of year 2, I was working 30 hours a month and I was making well over $1 million in profit. And that's when I knew that's what I had to teach, because all the clients I had, like so many of them at that time, were mums. and they didn't have time to be doing all of this. They needed a way they could make money and still live, and childcare. And yeah, I started teaching that, and then that boomed during the pandemic because everyone wanted to work online, and that's what I was teaching. And so yeah, it very quickly went up to over $30 million now.
She says that kind of at the end of that sentence, just $30 million. It's fine. Huge congrats. I mean, what you've done is incredible. And you really are the hardest worker in the room. You know, like that's who you are, and that's how you started. But your goal was to not have to be. And I so appreciate that, because you have the capacity. And one of the things that we talk about a lot on this show is the fact that slowing down can feel a little, you know, lazy or unproductive or something, even if the business is still going and things like that. So I'm curious, as you have come through, and I've watched you go through several sort of iterations, you are a magnificent example of someone who is able to pivot by reading what's going on around you. And you have still stayed true to your zone of genius every time that you have done a slight pivot or a slight turn, because you're watching the market, or you're watching, I mean, I'll never forget a conversation we had last year when you're like, launching is so different. It's so different right now. And this is what you need to do differently if you're going to be launching. And that's not what, you know, what you were teaching even 2 years ago. So you watch how everything changes so that people can still stay profitable, the people that you're working with. And so your business still does well.
Yeah, I experiment a lot because you can't tell what's going to work. A lot of the time you can see trends. Like I predicted the market slowing down in 2025. I predicted that in 2022 because I could see what was going to happen. You can kind of see by the global economy and what's going on in the industry, what's going to happen in a couple of years' time. You can see when AI started to come in that things were going to change and that we needed to make sure there was more support in things because people were going to be needing people more, and that you would suddenly become the currency and a premium thing to buy because so many people wouldn't have that. And so the pivots come from me kind of experimenting and seeing what's out there. And if I'm honest, using my audience, like I teach 4,000 people a year. That gives me a really wide group of people who are all launching and all doing things to watch and to say, can you try this for me? Can you test this for me? To see what's going to work so I can teach everybody else.
It's
But
incredible.
you're right, though, in what you said. The whole work harder thing, that stopped me for ages. Because my dad used to say to me, I grew up in a single parent household with my dad. And he used to say, if you want more money, you have to work really hard. And so when things became easier in that second year, and they were as easy in that year 2 to 4 than they've ever been. They're much harder now because I have a team. And as soon as you have a team, you work a lot more hours. But at that, when I was working 30 hours and making $1 million, I self-sabotaged so much because I was like, well, I don't deserve it. I'm not working hard. I was told that to make this kind of money, you have to work hard. This is too easy. So something's wrong. It's not going to last. And I would give myself more work. I would cause myself more problems so that I could solve them, so that I felt like I was working harder. And you don't know you're doing it. But when I look back, I can really see how I was.
That's so interesting, isn't it? And I think a lot of people listening are going to be able to relate to this, because our nervous systems stay feeling safe with what it knows, you know? And so if your nervous system knows that dysregulation or working harder, being more, doing more, you know, being better, if that's where the safety has come from, if the productivity and showing that you're checking off the list is where the value, your own self-worth has come from, then to back off on that to enjoy your life feels really wrong.
Yeah.
So when you realized that, what was that like for you? How long did it take you to catch it? And how did you move through that? Because that's not what I see you doing now.
No, I don't do it now. It took about a year though of working on it. I think so much of what you do as an entrepreneur is just the inner stuff, like consistently working on the inner stuff. We think it's about solving all these problems in a business. It's not. It's solving the problems in you constantly.
Inside yourself. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Inside
and then the
yourself.
business works. But yeah, once I realized it, I had a mindset coach at the time, and she was saying, why don't you just not add something into the business? Because it was a really nice, simple business model that was working. And I was like, I'm going to add a new thing in to make more money. And she was like, why? I'm like, because I can, and there's time. And she's like, but remember why you had the business. And it took a long time for me to be okay with that. I had to work through it step by step. But even now, I'm not sure I ever completely worked through it. I think things, unless you're doing mindset work all the time, it comes back. So I've really simplified my business now, like 3 offers. That's it. And just get more audience into the 3 offers. And even now, it's like I can see myself doing it. Like my husband, we did a TV show where we took an entrepreneur who isn't very entrepreneurial, like someone that was just a normal person, and to test if you could start a business and make money in 30 days. And we did it with my whole team. And we chose my husband because he's so not entrepreneurial. And he, of the back of it, now has a business that is working and making money. And so he's doing that. And I can see myself being drawn in and going, well, here's another business I can work on and we could make this massive and it could be a multi-7-figure business. And it's like, stop it. Like, you don't have to do all the things. But I think entrepreneurs in general will always do this to themselves.
I think so too. And you know what? My business manager always tells me, Melissa tells me, it takes a visionary to start the business and to get going, but it takes the other more practical people to hold that visionary back because we get excited about the idea and I could change more people's lives. I could help. And I love that I have always only heard you say, I want to help more people. And yes, I want to make more money, but I want to help more people. And so I think people who are heart-centered entrepreneurs, people who are interested in really helping, we constantly think of new ways to help.
Yeah,
and someone does.
We know that the income is actually just a byproduct of impact. The more people you impact, you're always going to make money on the side there. That's never the vision. The vision is the impact and money comes. But because of that, it's always going to be like that. Like, well, I can see another way that I can help people over here. It's really hard to hold that back. But I do now have an operations director that doesn't allow me to do everything I want to do, which is the right thing.
It's so funny. And so in that slowing down, I mean, it feels a bit like the person who's telling you, like, maybe like my sister does this in my life. My ops manager does as well, but my sister has been a really good person when she hears me taking on more stuff, even in my personal life. Because if I can, I should. It was always my motto. If I can, I should. And if I'm not, I literally right now, as we're recording this, I had to put on my calendar this month 2 evenings that say relax at home because otherwise my mind went, we'll go do more taekwondo lessons with my son. I'll go do this. Because it's fun and I like doing that kind of thing. But also, I think we underestimate because if we're holding space for all these people that we're helping and we want to be experiencing it the way that we designed this path, right? So I get a lot of people coming to me as a nervous system expert and a coach to say like, hey, I have the life that I always wanted, but it doesn't feel good. What's wrong with me? And did you ever have that moment where you're like, okay, well now I have the success, but something's missing?
Yeah. Well, for me, a massive thing that was missing was fulfillment for a long time. So I always thought that if I just made money and helped enough people, and mainly because I grew up in poverty, I knew that I always wanted to never be in that position again. So there was a need for me to like make enough money to feel stable, to feel secure. And then obviously I made a lot more than that. And I had this amazing life and extraordinary experiences and was able to give that to my twins as well. But never really felt completely fulfilled. And then in 2003, I had an experience that changed that for me. My best friend died. And he said, when I was at his funeral, loads of people said, oh, he lived such a good life, real life well lived. And I was like really confused by it because I was like, did he? Like, I thought a life well lived was a lot of travel. You got married, you had kids, you did, had some achievements, all these things that I'd already done. And he didn't have any of those things. And so I asked people, why are you saying that? Like, why do you think he had a life well lived? And they said to me, because everyone that met him went away feeling better. And I was like, this is interesting. And so I decided to do an experiment for a year where I had to do something for someone else every week. And most of them were just strangers on the internet. And some of those things were monetary things because that's what I had. It was the easiest thing that I could do. So if somebody was like, I really need money for IVF, or I need a back operation and I can't get it, I could just pay for it and it would be done. And that would be my week's thing ticked off. But some of it was like someone needed a friend, someone needed a course that they couldn't afford to buy, all of those kind of things. So I did something for a year. And at the end of that year, everything changed. First of all, I made more money because money needs a place to go. And suddenly I had places it needed to go. But secondly, for the first time ever, I actually felt fulfilled. And so I continued it. But I think that oftentimes we can be looking for a path and we think the path we're on is the one to success. And often it's not. It's what the internet is telling us success is. It's what social media is telling us success is. But it doesn't mean it really is success. Success is when you feel fulfilled.
That's really true. Oh, I love that. That gives me chills. I think that's so interesting too that you just decided it wasn't. I think one thing as a visionary, it can be easy for me to get excited about something and then just like check it off the list and be like, "Huh, okay, that's good." But you every week for a year, you did this and stuck with it and really stayed in that space and then realized, "Wow, that's what feels really good." So that's
And we
really
should
wonderful.
know that really, because if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or even Tony Robbins' like triangle, at the top is self-actualization, but we ignore it all because what we see is the bottom, which is safety, achievement, status, all the things that we like. They sound sexy, right? They sound good things. I want those things, but we don't go to the top. And we need to, because that's actually where the fulfillment is. But it's really hard to do that when you're just like listening to the noise out there about what matters.
That's so good. And I think one of the things that I hear the most often from people who are listening to the show or who are coming in to have a consult with me is their idea of what is good is based on what everyone else is saying is good. So I have to achieve what they've achieved or what they're saying is right. I have to work as hard as the next person and then I can earn my rest and deserve joy and deserve peace. And it's really based on what we see around us. Do you see that affecting your clients? I could only imagine that in the world that you are, the online coaching and strategy, and you're helping people build businesses, they've got to be hitting some walls out there based on comparison, based on what's out there online. I hear from entrepreneurs all the time that I'm working with, I'm really scared about, haters on the internet. Like, I don't want to be visible because if I'm visible, because we talk about fear of success and fear of failure. And both of those things really play a part in whether or not someone is willing to take a risk and be more visible. So what do you see?
Well, we need to be more visible. We have to be more visible. And we have to take risks. So I see two things. First off, I see people chasing someone else's dream all the time. They're 6 figures, they're 7 figures. When I work with somebody now, because I have helped make millionaires, but because of that, other people now come to me and say, I've heard you've helped millionaires. I would like to make a million. Before I work with anyone now, I'm like, why? Why do you want to make it? Because most of the time they don't know why they want to make it. They haven't thought about what they actually want their life to look like and what that means for them. What is success? Because for some people, success is being able to spend 2 days with their kid, taking their kids to school rather than being at work 5 days a week. And we lose that. So my version of success was actually to make £2,000 a month, because that version of success meant that I wouldn't have to go to work and I could spend more time with my kids. When did that become? I've had a launch and it hasn't even made multi 6 figures. And so I failed. Like, I found myself in that space and I find my clients in that space all the time and I get them through it quicker because it's ridiculous to sit in that space. We can't compare ourselves to anyone because nobody else's version of success is the same as yours. The visibility piece, so many people are scared of offending people, of being trolled, because we know we can't pretend anymore that if you get to a level of success, you are going to get some negativity. Like, it just comes with the territory these days as social media has grown. But people are very afraid of it. And that is the biggest fear of success, is people seeing. And I was afraid of it. I'm not anymore, but I was for a long period of time. I used to hide from it until I realized that you have to live your life as if you've already been cancelled. And it's the only way to feel free. Because if you are worried all the time can I post this? Shall I write this? Will someone be angry at this? Well, someone was annoyed at this on my last email, so they're definitely going to know about this one. You will never be a thought leader. You will never be who you really want to be, and you will never feel authentic because you're constantly holding back. Once we live as if we've been cancelled, it doesn't really matter because that's really the fear.
I have no words. That's our mic drop moment right now. Like, please, everybody go back and re-listen to just what she just said. That is incredible. Live as if you're already canceled. And how freeing is that, right? Because then you can just not be worried about it. Like, okay, maybe I do get canceled, but I can still make money. I can still work. And okay, maybe I don't do great on the next launch, but then we can double down on whatever else is going to work.
But actually, you
So
will do just as well. It doesn't matter if people try and cancel you. I had 2 years ago, I did a launch that made over 2 million in a week. And because of that, it kind of went viral in the normal world, not even in the online space, but just in the normal world. And there's a thing in the UK called Mum's Net, which is where mums gossip about everything. And on there, I went viral. Suddenly, there were 52 pages all trolling me, all talking about how bad I am, how I must be a scammer or a pyramid scheme, where my kids went to school, all the things. And I hid because I was so worried about what that would do to my reputation and to my business. That 52 pages within 2 weeks made me £45,000 because people don't do what we think they do. They don't look at someone and go, oh, I'll never do that then. They go and look up the person to see who this is, and then they like them, and then they're up. And so the next year I was like, troll away. I'll allow it.
come at me, ladies. Come at me. I love
Yeah.
that. That's fantastic. Well, I know we want to kind of, oh, go ahead. Please go ahead.
I just wanted to say one thing. There are ways always to make negativity into positive things. So one of the things we did, I used to get really bad comments when I was in newspapers because I'm a woman in the UK talking about money. It's not the done thing. And so all the comments were men annoyed at that. And so you can imagine the kind of comments, especially in the Daily Mail, like, can't imagine. But anyway, what we decided to do is take the funniest comments, print them onto t-shirts, and sell them, and all the proceeds would go to a charity that I'm involved in called Bullies Out. And we did that, and that turned something bad into something good because that meant that all those trolls were working for me as copywriters and they didn't even know it.
I saw this campaign. It was hilarious and amazing when you did this.
It was so fun because after that, what was brilliant about it is that people who were really scared of being trolled were coming up to me going, I've got a trolling comment. Do you think I could put this on a t-shirt? And they were like excited to be trolled. And that's all I wanted, is for people to stop fearing something that doesn't matter.
I love that so much, Lisa. And I love how you stand up for victims of bullying. And the Bullies Out is a phenomenal charity. If you want to look it up, if you're listening today and you are passionate about this, because I think a lot of us have bullying in our background. And Lisa's full story is really incredible based on her own experience with this when she was younger. So, Lisa, I want to close us out really quickly here. What is your one advice for somebody listening where they're really resonating with some of this? Like, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel successful, even though I've got the lifestyle I want, or I'm worried about the trolling and things like that. What is the very first thing that you would advise them to do?
To sit down and really go inwards. We were talking about space, giving ourselves space. We don't do that to just be. And that's when we're actually at our most clear of what we want. Give yourself, even if it's a day, to sit and just think without working, without pushing. What are you trying to achieve? What do you actually want? It doesn't matter if you're already at multi-seven figures at this stage. Still do it, because I was, and I changed everything after doing this. Just sit there and go, what do I actually want life to look like? What do I need to get that? And it might be, I just want a couple of days a week where I don't do anything. I just do fun things. Or it might be, actually, I do want to achieve 7 figures, but I want to do it because of this, this, and this. So you have a really clear plan of why, because once you know why, it's easier to do anyway. But give yourself the space to think about what you actually want. Work backwards to get that, rather than just keep, well, I'm doing this and it's making money. I'm doing it, and so I'm going to keep doing it. That's not the way. You need to sometimes be still.
I love that. And I know that there's somebody listening and you're squirming right now, but hang in there and just take a deep breath and do what Lisa said, and it's really going to help you. Okay, and then a couple of fun questions that I like to end with. What is your go-to pump-up song? I love your taste in music. I love watching your socials. I love watching when you guys are out on a yacht, like partying down to ABBA or whatever else it is. Tell me, is there a go-to song or a go-to artist that you're like, I turn it on when I really need to get out of a funk?
Britney Spears. Like, I still love her. I'm still dancing
Amazing.
to her at every party. Everyone's like,
That's
no,
amazing.
I love it.
Do you have a favorite song? Like you're the first one you play on your Britney list?
I love Toxic. I'll always love it.
I don't know why, but that's what I was gonna pick. I was like, I bet she loves Toxic. It's one of
I
my
love it.
favorites. It's amazing.
It's so good.
And then finally, if you only have 5 minutes to decompress and you're, in between work or something, what is it that you do to refresh yourself?
I do like, so I never used to be very spiritual at all, but one of the practices that has really helped me is grounding. So if I'm like doing loads of things, I'm really busy and it's quite stressful and I know there's a lot going on, I will spend 5 minutes just walking in grass. I will just go outside and I will put bare feet on grass and it totally calms me down and makes me chill again. So in the summer, that's what I do. In the winter, I turn on music.
Turn on music. Good. So we covered it. That's great. Well, is there anything else that you want to leave our listeners with? Any last thought that we didn't get to touch on today yet? And you can also, I'd love for you to tell them about the new thing that you're doing here in just a little while. You're refocusing in a certain area that I think is going to be amazing for every entrepreneur.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing helping people really strengthen their personal brands, because as AI takes over our world, personal connection comes at a premium. So we're in a really good space once we strengthen our personal brands to really do well and to thrive in a world where not many people are going to be doing that. So I'm going to be helping people to do that. I'm really excited about it. But I think that if I could leave anything, it's that it doesn't matter what level you're at. No one has anything fully sorted out. And I think sometimes people look at people who are further ahead of them and think, well, they seem to have everything sussed. They never do, ever, at any level. I've worked with people that are at 6 figures and I've worked at people that are at 9. No one has their shit sorted. So you're all right if you don't feel like you do. You're in good company.
That's amazing. I love that so much. Thank you so much, Lisa. Everyone that's listening, we will have all of Lisa's ways that you can find her, ways that you can work with her, all in the show notes. And Lisa, I'm just so grateful for this time with you. I love just getting a chat with you. It's so fun to see you. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
No worries. Nice to see you again.